Usually I try to come up with some sort of clever intro for these things, but I can't legitimately think of one for this game. We're throwing chairs at the Silver Case. It's by Grasshopper Manufacturer Incorporated. It's on the Unity engine. You can pick it up for around 20 of your local particular currency. What is it? The Silver Case is the debut title from world-renowned developer Suda51, has been fully remastered and localized to English for the first time ever. The devs did send us some keys, and if you're unfamiliar with what this is, why I'm wearing a fancy hood, and why these guys are in the dark, is because this is the ChairQAsition, where we take games, we play them, we talk about them, maybe give them a bit of QA that their developers didn't think to give them before they released it to the general public, and we tell you what we think, and we rate it on the chair scale. 1 chair means that it's garbage, 2 chairs means it's meh, 3 chairs means it's pretty good, 4 chairs means that it's awesome. And we got our categories: Oh Doom, makes with the working, shiny sounds, controls, and fun. And how this will work is in each of the segments we'll have a bit of a roundtable. We'll discuss what we liked, what we didn't like, issues that we found, things that deserve some commendation, and we'll assign it a chair score. So let's kick this off. Pedro, I know you suck at localization, so you're gonna go first.
Oh yes.
How did it work?
See, I'm the idiot who still runs his Linux installation in the Portuguese locale where it was originally installed. So this game downright doesn't work in non-English locales. This is a known bug with the Unity engine, and honestly, I thought it had been fixed, but apparently not, because you need to add lc underscore all equals c percentage command percentage to the advanced launch options in Steam. Otherwise, the little graphics that you see happening right now, like the car going down the road, that just doesn't show up. You can't load the game, and you can't really make any progress at all. Now, current year argument and all, this kind of shit was bad enough when it first happened with the old Unity 4 type titles, and it was bad then. It's even worse now. What the hell are you doing? Seriously?
I don't know, man. I tried it on the Box of Business Ryzen 7 980, and I don't have the raging audacity to move to the country where English was fucking invented and not switch my locale to English. So I would not have encountered this problem. Hey, this was done on Unity 5. It's a game engine. It got a, I don't know. I mean, as soon as it launched, I was like, oh shit, it just had that PlayStation look to it. They lost the source to this game. So like the audio was ripped off the PlayStation disc and all that. I didn't have any issues with it, or nor should I, at 3840 by 2160, because you're basically playing a little letterbox. Full screen worked, windowed worked, and we'll get into the controls a bit later. But yeah, Jordan, I heard you had some volumetric.
Oh yeah, no, the thing just like blew out my eardrums when I started up the game. But I ran this on the desktop, which is running Fedora 26 with the i7 6700K and the GTX 980, and I even checked it on the laptop, which is running Fedora 27, freshly upgraded. Out of the box with the i7 6700HQ and the GTX 960M, everything ran perfectly fine, because why wouldn't it? So, because Pedro doesn't know how to read English, and because we do, this will average it to about five chairs. No, I can't do math today. It's integer overflow is what happened. Okay, 5 chairs. Up next is Shiny and Sounds. Ben, what'd you think?
Remastered edition. So, let's talk about this. I went back and I watched the original PS1 gameplay. Because the time the PS1 came out, I'd already gotten burned by the 32X, and I tapped out. I was full PC. I went and bought a 3DFX pass-through card. I was like, fuck this console stuff. I think a better definition for this would be mildly enhanced edition. Not you got some balls saying it's completely remastered, because there's a lot of shit in there that you can't read. And not to say that's necessarily a problem. Going to talk more about that in the fun section, because you're kind of along for the ride. But yeah, it got a little sketchy a couple times. it's even with the enhanced, it's got a bunch of enhancements with movement and stuff. I'll talk about the controls. It says graphics. I can't really see.
I mean, yeah, HD remaster in this case just means that all the art assets are HD, so that they're not like completely pixelated,
quote unquote,
which
HD.
I guess is a thing.
Yeah.
And like the visual aesthetic is definitely interesting because you have like random words like integer and load and string copy and whatnot just thrown up on the screen, and it kind of reminds me of some sort of like Strider-esque French new wave cinema, which I guess is like it could work given the genre of the game, which is like a detective story. But yeah, you're gonna be sitting here reading a lot. Pro tip: alternating mental cast members of Bill Cosby, Snagglepuss, and Frankenfurter make this game a much more entertaining read than you would otherwise expect.
Yeah, I almost wish the locale bug would make it so I couldn't hear the sound effects, because that typing noise is so goddamn annoying and so goddamn loud and all up in your face. All over the fucking time, too. Now, the graphics are completely unremarkable. They look like something out of the PS1 era, which, you know, this game came out in 1999 originally, so it probably was. I tried this on the laptop while I was trying to debug exactly why this wasn't working on the desktop, because I have the laptop set to the UK locale, so it works in English, and the game was working fine there. So I came back to the desktop, put in LC_L. Oh, look at that, it works. But yeah, even on the laptop, it runs at like 10 FERPs. So it's horribly unoptimized for a PS1 era game.
Well, what type of laptop are we talking about? What kind of laptop?
This is an HP EliteBook 830 G2, I think. And it has an i5-6200U, which runs Dirt Rally on admittedly ultra-low settings, but it runs it in the benchmark. It says 70 FERPs average. So that's the laptop you're looking at. And this game runs like ass. Like complete fucking ass.
That's interesting. One thing that the game does do right, though, and Ben, I think you agree, the soundtrack is pretty nice.
The soundtrack's good, man. It doesn't sound like a Playmate from the 80s, but it does have the backing track of anime from the mid to late 90s, and that's not necessarily a bad thing at all.
No.
I mean, it.
No, I was definitely into it.
Yeah, I can dig that. So I'm going to say, listen, 2 chairs for me just because it technically works. I really wish it was remastered, because I see stuff from like Double Fine that's actually fucking remastered. They put the effort into it to completely redo it.
Or something like Wonder Boy, where they completely reanimated everything.
Exactly. And yeah, this came off as a very lazy. Now, then again, it is wicked more difficult to do something that was originally 3D. And I'm sure this looked amazeballs. Not really, because I actually looked at the footage from the PS1. And yeah, things have more textures on them. I think Strider even pointed out they have a nasty case of the jaggies and the 3D that you do see. That is played in a little tiny postage stamp. It reminds me of playing games on my Sega CD.
Well, I'll talk about this a little more in the fun segment, but one of the interesting things while I was looking up this game, because like, what the fuck is this? This looks old as hell. Apparently, this was actually made on like a hellish shoestring budget with like barely any assets.
Yeah, it was the studio's first game.
Yeah.
It was Suda's first game on top of that. So the part of that was there was like a challenge involved with like taking what little assets they had and making a full game out of it. Anyways. It's gonna get 1 chair because Pedro doesn't like retro. He hates it. I'd give it 2
it's not
chairs
that I don't like retro. Is that I literally couldn't see the video without that variable in place.
Good job having a poorly configured system. Up next is Control. Yeah, so this is a very, very much like an early 3D console point-and-click game that's been ported to PC. They give you like this weird. I looked up the original control scheme, and like it's very much meant to work with the PlayStation controller, but instead you have the S button to bring up the options menu, the I button to bring up an inventory, the C button to actually interact with things, and then the M button if you want to actually move around, and that uses the arrow keys, and you can use space or enter to parse through text. Now, despite being a point-and-click adventure game, the keyboard bindings actually make more sense if you straight up do not use the mouse. It's a little weird. I got used to it after a while, and they even say as much in the game, like, yeah, this is weird, but you'll get used to it. I'm like, this is weird, but hey, whatever. I got used to it. Still though, the UI itself is very confusing, and the game there are times when like the puzzles show up, and the game is very, very unclear as to what exactly you're supposed to be doing and whether or not you're making progress, which I feel is the fault of the controls.
Yeah, I definitely think it is, man. I mean, just immediately, and the first time you have to do something, after your initial 20 minutes of tapping a space to continue text, because that's your first 20 minutes of this game. It's just a big ball of sweet mother of flaming nope. Now, I got to give this game a bonus soda for at least attempting to pull off point and click in the PS1 era with a controller. Good on them. I can kind of understand how this bullshit layout would have made sense with the original PS1 controller. However, you equally get smashed in the fucking face organ with a chair for keeping that bullshit in place and not just letting me hook it up the way I need it to.
It's nostalgic.
Fuck this, man. They knew the control scheme. They knew this control scheme was nightmare fuel back in 99. I know this for a fact. Yes, they did add Wazzat. They added Wazzat, but just getting to the points where you're moving around, as Jordan was talking about with that fucked up little circle, that's a problem in itself that needed to be. And, I've counted 3 separate occasions where the game itself has told me, now this might seem a little confusing at first. It's like, motherfucker, really? Yeah. It's a little confusing. It's really wicked confusing. And just forget I gave up with the controller. I tried it with the keyboard and gerbil, and it was somehow worse.
Yeah, the controls, quote unquote, work. Now, this seems to be the only thing that did before I started forcing all the locales to C system-wide. But they're still bad. It's 90s level bad. The fact that the game keeps acknowledging that the controls are complicated and that everything is really, really bad doesn't really help, because if you know for a fact that the controls are really, really bad, you, instead of acknowledging that in the game, you probably should have gone in and actually fixed them. Now, when you're actually actively trying to play the game itself, after the 10 or so minutes of unskippable bullshit with the text, actually what you're looking at right now, it does the mist thing that it lets you spin in place and move to another square on the map, and then you can look up or look down. That's it. I'm not impressed, but hey, at least the controls worked out of the box, so that's something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I take away from this is Suda51 hates Portugal. So I think we all agree it's kind of like a 2 chairs scenario for the controls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, and finally, fun #Big Dick Chinchilla. That's actually in the game.
Do you know my favorite part of this game? My favorite part?
When you hit Alt F4?
Second favorite part of this game? Do you want to know my second favorite part of this game?
What?
Is the joy of reading Pedro's Refest, especially with some of the convoluted bullshit games that he really enjoys. I think that's fun. Made me happy to read that.
#Dominions5. I mean, here's the thing, though. This was always supposed to be an experimental game. And when you have time and resource and budget constraints, sometimes the answer to your problems is to just take a weird step out there and hope that people grok what you're putting out there. I haven't really played Killer 7 or No More Heroes or any of the other Suda51 games, so I don't really have a sense of what makes his spot sauce the special sauce. I mean, there's definitely some visually interesting stuff that happens in the game. I sort of like the noir detective style, but because this is a text adventure game, the dialogue here is sort of like the clinch pin or the linchpin of whether or not you'll enjoy it. And oh boy, we you kind of get the sense that like the dialogue is supposed to be just these normal people having a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But and this might actually be the translator's fault, because this might actually be perfectly in the original Japanese. It makes perfect sense. This is how people talk. Whatever. I don't speak Nihong. I'm not weebtastic. I'm not.
Well, I mean, it's like Vorlon poetry, man. It always loses something in translation.
Yeah, or Vogon poetry. It makes you want to kill yourself.
Check it out. I mean, for me, I didn't know shit about this game going in, other than it's like, oh, here's a game we need to do. It kind of surprised me because it was 6 gigs of download. I was thinking like 100 megs. Personally, it's not much of a game. It's about as much of a game, if you want to put it on what I perceive games as. It's about as much of a game as Gone Home, You're Drunk. Basically what you have. It's visual novel, man. Walking simulator mixed in with the occasional puzzle. I'm not saying anything's wrong with that. It's not necessarily my bag. The criminal thing is... it just kills this game is the hot mess that claims to be an interface. That's bad. That's wrong. I understand you had to deal with limitations, but if you're going to go back and remaster something, make it playable, make it good, update it. You know, there's no way I could justify spending, what is this thing, $20?
$20. Yeah.
Unless you just wanted a digital copy for a collector's thing,
I think
man.
This is definitely more aimed at people who are like big fans of Suda51.
Yeah.
And kind of want like the full discography, whatever, that he's put out.
That's really the whole...
Okay. I have a question for you guys, though. Do you, after about an hour and a half of this game, I don't know who any of the characters are.
Nope.
They keep throwing names at me. The intro cinematic lists a bunch of names with like pictures. I still have no idea who anyone is.
Yeah, and you're not going to have any idea what anyone is, because any of the irrelevant bits that actually happen in the game are glorified JPEGs that show up on screen for a little bit and then disappear. I've played Suda 5.1 games in the past. I have. I loved Killer 7. Killer 7 was an amazing Suda 5.1 game. This, on the other hand, I think I've honestly found my most hated game of 2017. I honestly didn't think anything could top... I didn't think anything could top Spacebound when it came to the making me violently ill category. Well, I was wrong. This is exactly the kind of game I hate the most. There are no mechanics here. The mechanics are here solely to make you think that Suda 5.1's masturbatory stiffy over his storytelling is in any way great. The graphics barely even register, since all the important bits, as I mentioned, are glorified JPEGs. There's so much text on screen at any point that I felt like I'd be better off with
I think this guy is a fucking master because he pissed you off by making a visual novel.
Oh yeah, he absolutely did. If you want to experience this game like I did, the best way to do it is to watch a Let's Play of the original Myst on YouTube, without full screening, mind you. You want the letterbox all the way, which was recorded in 240 by 160. Mute the audio, have someone tap along in an old digital typewriter right next to your fucking ears, and focus on the text below the video. Yeah, you read that YouTube description. Are you bored yet? Because I sure as hell fucking was.
Oh, he's so angry. So angry.
I know, it's so cute.
Yeah,
he's getting all flushed and whatnot. So I don't honestly, I don't think any of us really enjoyed this game.
No.
This is I feel this is very much like, in addition to the fact that it's a very, very strange game with I would say a fairly limited appeal. It just didn't hit any of our like good notes.
It's could have been. I just feel that this is a very I'm hesitant to use the word lazy, but you know, here's my piece of advice. If you don't have the original source for the game and you're not going to remake that shit from scratch, maybe you might want to tap out on the remastered versions, because you end up with some hot shit like this. And
I I'm all for like full-on Japanese author type games. I want to see the good Suda 5.1 games on Linux. I want to see Killer 7. I want to see Killer is Dead. I want to see all the other ones. This is shit. I don't want this.
Do you want a taco?
Yeah, I could go for a taco right now.
He doesn't
Well,
know
too
what
bad. No one
tacos
cares
are.
what you want. So that's one
No,
chair
I've had
for
plenty
the
of
fun
tacos.
segment. And we're going to tie this up. One chair for the silver case. Anything else you want to throw on top of this before we head on over to the hate mail?
If you want this game, you already own it. That's really all we can say about it. It's pretty easy to shit on something from 1999. Games, this was a very new 3D. People were just throwing shit at walls and seeing what sticks. I understand what was going on here. If you put yourself in the mindset, 1999, something like that, dude's trying to sell a story even. You know, with the 3D, the camera work, the cinematography of it, I feel it. I feel the vision behind it, man.
I played a lot of good games from 1998.
No, you didn't. You just think
Quake
you did.
2. Quake 2. I still actively play Quake 2 to this day.
On the PlayStation?
No, not on the PlayStation, on the PC. It still suffers from a lot of that 90s development bullshit.
Quake 2 was the worst of the entire series. Quake 2 was nothing. The entire mechanic of Quake 2 was see who can get the rocket launcher first. That's the entire game. 100%.
I'm not talking about the multiplayer. I'm talking about the actual single-player campaign. It had a story.
That was even worse.
Bare bones as it was, it was a good story. And my all-time favorite game is also from 1998. It was Fallout 2. Admittedly, it's not on Linux, but it's got very good storytelling.
Incidentally, just because you two are just going to go on forever and ever, just hate.
Oh yeah, I would.
Quake is based off of Dungeons.
See, I can mute him. So, what were you saying?
I was saying that Fallout 2, as you know, it's not on Linux. It never will be now that Bethesda actually owns the damn rights. I love that game, and that's from 1998. It's got great storytelling. It's got great mechanics. This is the perfect example of a really bad game from that time. Just, I know that Suda 5.1 can make better games. Just bring those to Linux.
And they did. This is baby steps. All right, man. Let's get the fuck out of here.
All right.